Welcome to Rhyme and Reason, the podcast where music meets meaning. I'm your host, Priss. Join me as we dive into the stories behind the songs, exploring the rhymes that make us move and the reasons that make us think. Across all genres, we'll dissect the lyrics, analyze the beats, and uncover the hidden gems that make music magic. Let's get into the rhythm. New episode every week. Rhyme and Reason, where every note has a story. Hey, lovely. It's Priscilla here. Thank you for joining me on another installment of Rhyme and Reason with Priss. I hope you had a great week since the last time we spoke or whatever we did. But yeah, welcome to the show. And thanks again for anyone who provided some feedback on how the show is going, your thoughts, your pointers, uh, and your compliments. Thank you so much. I really take them seriously, and I aspire to continue implementing whatever I need to make this a fun time for you, something you look forward to every week, eh? So today is a very, very special day. I have an amazing guest. I will introduce him shortly, but I'll give you this. I am nervous. Your girl's nervous today. Well, nervous in a very excited manner. So this person happens to be my mentor in all things broadcasting. Taught me what I know, and I'm still learning because I am quite the novice at this, but I'm enjoying it so much. And I wouldn't be here without his guidance, so I'm really excited to have him on the show. Now, having said that, the song that we picked today was Missing You, and that was by Brandy, Chaka Khan, Gladys Knight, and Tamia. And it was 1994, actually, when the song came out. And if you're a big fan of Babyface's writing, then this one is definitely for you. So it peaked at number 2 on Billboard, on the Billboard charts. So it was a really, really big deal. I just mentioned Kenny Edmonds, but there was also Ronnie Walton. He was also one of the writers of the song. Now, it's a very heartfelt song, and we'll go into the meaning and its relevance, what makes it special. And as you know, on this show, we're all about highlighting how music speaks to us on the day to day and how timeless these meaningful songs are and how relevant they are even in life today and how we can apply them to different things that we go through or that we experience. So I'm really excited to be talking about this particular song. So, having said that, let me tell you a little bit more about my guest. I have with me the Tony Friday, Anthony McCordy, really, but Tony Friday is basically a household name here in all things radio. So I'm very, very honored to have him take the time to talk with us today. So Tony is a former Radio 3 presenter, and guys, Radio 3, that was like back in 2001 when he started there, right? Yeah. So legend. And he's worked with a lot of radio stations here in Zimbabwe and across Africa. So Power 101 Malawi, Trans Africa Radio, Rainbow FM, ZFM. This one is for the people that you call them fossils. Don't come at me. Y'all know who you are. Yeah, so we'll talk a little bit more about his radio journey. And 98.4 FM and Hewoi FM. And he is also the founder and the lead trainer at Radio Academy Africa, to which I am an alumna. An alumnus, I am a graduate of that program. So we'll talk a little bit more about that right at the end of the show. One of my favorite things that Tony has ever worked on, or that he's working on, is his work with Nani Wellness as a mental health advocate. He's been very open with sharing his story, his journey, and he's been very instrumental in having the conversation about mental health for many different groups: men, women, grief, counseling, relationships, anything you can think of that would need that emotional support. I have seen his work. So yeah, that was a long bio, but then I kind of chimed in. He doesn't really like to talk about himself, but hey, that's why I'm here. So please, please, please join me in welcoming Tony Friday. Hey, Tony.
Thank you. Hey, Priscilla, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
It's an absolute honor to be, on this podcast. Brilliant idea, by the way.
Thank you.
So when you first sent me the recordings of the other ones that you had done, I was like, this is pretty unique. Like, I'd never heard a podcast that focuses on, unpacking songs and the meaning behind it and creating stories around them as well. That's pretty dope. Well
Thank
done.
you. That means a lot. That means so much coming from you. Because one of the things you taught me, like before we get into this, one of the things you taught me was how anything you do should represent who you are.
Yes.
I simply can't talk about things that don't impact my life. So I'm one of those people who pretty much has a soundtrack to their life.
We all do. Hey, I mean, when I think about the different seasons of life,
right,
from when I was a little boy, from when I was as young as 7, I mean, there's songs that I remember from in primary school, in high school, breakups, first relationships.
Oh yes,
first dates, first whatever. Like it's so there's like a song attached to every occasion, which is amazing.
That's awesome. So yeah, I really appreciate that you found it interesting. And when I was thinking of who to have on the show, and then I thought to reach out to you, I was like, okay, I think this is one of those that I'm just gonna have to fold my hands and just sit back and listen. Because I'm like, this is right up your alley. So thank you so much for coming. So you picked Missing You. And yeah, it really wasn't what I was expecting. I mean, I thought you would, because your name is usually synonymous with like 90s R&B and and this is, although it is, but I think I was expecting something more
upbeat,
jumpy and yeah. So tell us about that. Why this song?
So this particular song, I mean, besides the actual song, the actual song was a really beautiful song. It was a soundtrack to Set It Off, the movie.
Yes.
Which was an epic, black movie.
Yes.
Because there were not many black movies at the time. I mean, we have tons of them now, but at the time, they were only starting to get into it. So the first time that I heard it was in that movie.
Right.
When the movie came out, that part when all the girls have died, and now it's just Jada. She now has the stash.
Yes.
She's now crossing over to the other country, and then that song is playing in the background towards the end of the movie.
So epic.
So besides that, I've had the song for me reminds me of so many of my friends that I've lost.
Yes.
Family, parents, people that I just used to know. So it evokes a lot of emotion in me when I hear it. It is a song that, first and foremost, I I think my first major loss was my mom in 97. I was only 16 at the time. So that song definitely, evokes a lot of all kinds of emotion around because me and my mom were very close.
Yeah.
I was one of the favorites in a family of 6, if not the favorite.
So you're going to be bold and say that and have
yeah. So me and my mom shared a lot of wonderful memories from back then.
Oh, that's amazing.
It was a very unusual relationship for a mother and son, because the parents from that era were known for being very,
strict,
hard-fisted. They were disciplinarians. They did not mess around. But for some weird reason, when it came to me, my mother was very soft towards me. I remember her softness, how gentle she was with me. Maybe because I was the most vulnerable. I don't know. Because I was born prematurely.
Okay.
Yeah. And also, I was the skinniest in my family. Like, I was skinniest in class. So
I've heard
I
you
went
talk
through.
about that.
Yeah. So I think it was her way of making up for all of that drama. So losing her in 97 was very traumatic for me. And I was only 16 at the time, and
That's a very tender age.
yeah. So I still needed her when she passed on. So when I hear the song, a lot of memories come to mind. I remember how she always used to make sure there was something to eat coming back from school in the afternoon. I didn't grow up in a rich family. I grew up in a very poor family, but she always made sure that, there was something to eat. And it's only now when you're older, when you look back and you see how hard she worked to just make things predictable and stable in the family.
That's so important.
Yeah. So when I hear the song, I suddenly think about coming back from school in the afternoon around 1 in my green and khaki uniform. And then you would always she would always have something for you to eat. It didn't matter what it was, whether it was just bread, but she would always have like something special, for us. And I think that was amazing. It was an amazing thing to experience, because a lot of the family setups now, they're very different from how they were back in the day, because mothers are working, fathers are working, and there's nothing wrong with mothers going to work and all of that, but there was something to gain from just knowing that my mother was always there to take care of business. You understand? And she would be there. It was that predictability, it was that stability that gave us confidence to do a lot of things, because we didn't have to worry about that.
Sounds like she was very nurturing.
Oh, she was. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. She was this is not a thing now. I don't know if it's still a thing now, but like do mothers still sew, like, torn clothes and all of that? Like, people just buy new stuff,
Actually, I did some needle. I actually did some needlework a couple of weeks ago. So there's this item of clothing that my daughter keeps ripping, and it was like, and you know what? I was like, I can't keep replacing.
Yeah. So we
and so I was actually in Shurugwi with my mom. So it was the three of us. Yeah. And I was like, Mom, I need a needle and thread. Needle and thread.
Yeah.
And as I was talking to Mom, I was like sewing it back, sewing it back up. And I was actually quite proud of myself. And Mom was like, oh, because I'm no, needlework was not my forte. I would do very well in theory, but when it came to the practicals and you had to sew a dress or whatever, it just wasn't my thing. So when she saw me doing this, she's like, yeah, that's what mother was. So yeah, I'm sorry, I just had to dive.
No. I can relate to all of that. So just how she held it down for all of us. And God knows her own battles that she was fighting, because my father was very abusive. Like he was an alcoholic and all of that. And it was so weird how I only got to see the abuse that she went through after she was gone. Which she never talked about, by the way.
She shielded you from
she shielded all of us from what was happening. So even that, like protecting us from that, like she dealt with it by herself, and she was just such a fortress when I think about her. And this is, and please, I know I digress here, but I want you to think about something that we don't think about now.
Okay.
Because we now live in a society where everything is about money. Yeah.
Yes.
Like your value as a human being is reduced to how much money you bring on the table.
Yes.
Right. And when there's not a figure of money that you can attach to how she showed up.
Yes.
You could never put a figure to it and say her contribution was worth this much. It's impossible to put a figure to it, like making meals every single day, by the way, doing everybody's laundry every single day, making sure the house was nice and clean every single day, dealing with all the other drama that we didn't even know about, dealing with relatives. And my mother was such a humanitarian, she would, we looked after so many people that would come temporarily at our household, and then they'd go, cousins, from my father's side, from her side. You can't put a price tag to that. Like you can't. And I know that most people aspire to, get a job and start a business, but there's a lot of value in just being a woman to a family.
Yeah.
There's a lot of value in just being a mother.
Yeah.
You understand? Even if it's all you ever do. But that's a calling, because it requires so much from you. And providing a nurturing environment for kids is no joke, guys. No. In fact, it's actually easier to just go out there and sit behind a desk and get paid and just provide the financial resources than it is to take care of all the moving parts in a home.
Hey.
It's a lot easier because
it is. Yeah.
Because for the most part, fathers just throw money at everything, right? Like they don't have to deal with misbehaving kids. They don't have to have the difficult conversations with the little ones. They don't have to go to school and, advocate for certain things and all of that. They just throw money at everything. And I think, while money is important, but it's just a little fraction of it.
Yeah. So there's so much more.
There's so much more to what a woman is than just providing financial resources. In fact, I think that the higher you go on the corporate ladder, the more your family loses you.
That's so true.
At home. So I think there's got to be a balance. While I understand that, it's important for people to work and all of that, but don't lose your kids in the process. Don't lose your husband in the process. Don't lose your humanity in the process, because money is good, but it's just a fraction of it, man. It's just a tiny little fraction of the whole equation when I look at it now. And this I can only say now because I experienced what it's like to have a mother who is always at home.
Can you talk about how she nourished you emotionally?
Man, my mother was my biggest supporter. So she would. So even when I was doing things that
that you weren't supposed to,
that I wasn't supposed to do, or things that I thought I wanted to do but really didn't have no business doing, she would be leading me on, like, you know what? Yes, go for it, do it, try it and see. I remember the first time I appeared on the radio back in '96. And she was the only person who listened to what I was doing.
Talk about being your biggest cheerleader.
You know what I'm saying? So,
oh wow.
So I back to the song. The song reminds me of how solid my mother was. And this is a woman who didn't own anything in the material sense. Like, she didn't have a car, but what she did is she gave me a standard of what a mother is like, of what a woman is like, you know. And I think even to this day, I still look for her in the people that I try and date, because I'm still, maybe I'm missing that, you know, that nurturing element that she brought into my life. So she was my biggest cheerleader. She was a fighter, and she was a prayer warrior. She taught everyone in the family how to pray.
Amazing.
I think the first seeds of my Christianity were sowed by my mother. She religiously, without fail, every single night she would gather all of us, and then would sit around in the lounge, and she would sing a hymn from the Methodist hymn book. Most of them I know by head because of her. And to be honest, I didn't enjoy it at the time, because sometimes you're sleepy and it's like 9 p.m. and you're so tired from playing the whole day, and then she'd make everybody pray in a round robin type of situation, and then you would pray, and then would do I remember reciting the Lord's Prayer. And then, I think that was my first interaction with Christianity. It was through her.
You realize that's the greatest inheritance she could have left you.
Definitely.
Like, that's amazing.
Yeah, she would beat up people to go to Sunday school on Sundays. No,
no lie. Trust me, I grew up the same way.
Oh, we would get beat up to go to Sunday school. You know what I'm saying? So, and
even if you tried to pull the whole, I'm not feeling well today. That's why you need to go. Exactly why you're coming with us.
I don't miss the beating sessions.
No,
because those were brutal. Those were so, as much as loving and soft as she was, but she was also very military when it came to discipline. You know, so we used to make
it was
jokes
a balance,
about,
though.
it was
right? Yeah.
So we used to make jokes about the hierarchy of the disciplinary process. Right?
Yes.
So my mom was the High Court.
Yeah.
Dad, Supreme Court.
Okay.
So there were certain cases that would be dealt with in the High Court,
And just stay there.
There were certain cases where you could get away with a verbal warning, right? But get to 3, you know a beating is coming. So anything could get you beat up.
Yeah.
You could get beat up for staying too long without getting beat up.
Oh no.
Oh,
wow.
Or we're gonna grow kunzi ukuchema uchirowa.
Eish.
Oh, I was kuchema uchirowa.
Okay.
Oh, I was kuchema uchirowa. Oh, uri kupindura uchirowa. Oh, hausi kupindura uchirowa. So you're like, okay, so what exactly are we supposed to do? You know, but it should beat you, and should never beat you quiet. She would beat you, and she's saying stuff
Instructing
to the beating. Ndaka,
Kudza, kuti.
6 o'clock. Munhu wese, mumba.
Why do I know this? I wasn't even there, but why do I know this? It's because
beat you in rhythm. I remember this one time, me and my young brother, we got beat up for close to an hour.
Yo.
And she let us go when she was tired.
Yo. Okay, I'm even afraid to ask what you had done.
We deserved it.
You deserve okay. Because
we deserved it. We deserved it. So
okay. Well, may her beautiful soul rest in peace.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
So it's the song really talks about like a yearning to it. It also I think there's a line there that talks about, or that addresses those unspoken words, like those things you wish you could have said. Now, I know this one was directly about losing someone to death.
Yeah.
You know, but it can actually be applied to a lot of reasons why there's a separation between one person and the next.
Yeah.
So where do you really put all those unspoken words? Things you wish you could have said, things you wish,
I always say you should never judge yesterday's actions with today's wisdom.
Yes.
There's a lot of freedom that comes from knowing that I'm always doing my best with what I know now, right?
Yes.
So I think it's such a prison to always be in a place. I mean, it's good. Guilt has its place.
It does.
And it has its time. You know, you should only feel guilty for a certain period. I'll give you an example. The song kind of also reminds me of when I lost my little brother, who died in 2019. Yeah. And the day that he died, he actually called me. And I was busy chasing money. And at this point, someone, so when he made the call, I was actually in the middle of chasing up after money. Right? And that was the last time I would have spoken to him before he died. I don't know what he wanted to say. I don't know what all I know is that my phone, I just said to him, I'll call you back. And I didn't. And I remember my battery went flat. And then I only switched on my phone the next day, and I woke up to messages that my baby brother was no more. Oh. So for quite a while, I carried that guilt to say, oh yeah, what did he want to say to me? Like, what did he? But then something interesting happened at the funeral because one of his friends pulled me aside, and he said to me, he left a message for you. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, please tell Tony that I said thank you for loving me the way that you did. Oh, Tony. I'm telling you. And two people kind of said the same thing. I don't know if he knew he was going. He probably did. Because he had been unwell for a bit. For a while. Yeah. How did that make you feel, if I may ask? It broke my heart. I wished I had been there more. Yeah. I wished I had done more. I think I did the best that I could at the time. With what you knew. With what I knew, Like you said, yeah. So none of us are perfect. No. And none of us are ever going to love people perfectly. No. And I think that's okay. Yeah. Because nobody expects us. What makes us part of the beauty in being human is the fact that we do mess up sometimes. We do. So I try not to live in the past. Right. Because with all of the people that I have lost, I think I've tried to show them love one way or the other. Yes. So it could I have done better? Yes. I probably could have done more, I don't know what that would have looked like. But I'm here now. You and I do better with what I know now. And you know, 5 years. I think that plays into your work as a grief counselor too. Yeah. I have been actually a recipient of some of that counsel. Oh wow. So I have. I actually have. Yeah. And it does that. You can tell you're speaking from deep experience. Yep. It's not just you woke up one day and you wanted to help people navigate the emotional turmoil. Yeah. And your openness to talk about your struggles with with Mental
loss,
health
with mental
issues.
health.
Yeah.
They've been such a life changer for a lot of people. And I know I don't even speak for myself because I've seen the testimonies. So I actually,
Well, I'm glad I was useful to other people in that regard. But I try and live a life of peace now. And how I find peace is knowing that I'm always doing my best.
Yes.
At whatever level that I'm at.
Yes.
Even when you mess up, it is the best option you have at that point. Because
Right.
if you could see a better option, you would have done it, isn't it? So I'm always doing my best.
Right.
I'm always doing the best that I can with what I know at that point. And I'm also ever seeking growth. So I'm a lot more at peace because also understand there's a perfectionism agenda message that the world is teaching and which is impossible, right? Like no one can
and you
attain
wonder
that.
why so many people are in despair. Really.
So exactly, which is why we are more depressed than we were before. We are more depressed now because the standards are much higher than they were before. Not that we are any less of human beings than the guys who lived probably like 50 years before. They didn't have to deal with the comparisons that we have to deal with now. So that perfection is not meant to do any good. It's meant to harm people. Example is we have a lot more teenagers now committing suicide than
let's talk about that.
Because they don't know any better. Better for you and me because we've been alive in the two different generations,
Yes.
so we know, right?
Yes.
Like this was never a thing back in our days.
No.
We didn't have to deal with this back in the day. So why should they? Like, why should they be dealing with?
Have you ever scrolled on your newsfeed and just decided, nope, not today?
I have deleted my apps so many times. On occasion, yeah.
And you know what? You open your feed and it's just, especially the young people.
Yes.
It's rest in peace, rest in peace,
Yeah.
rest in peace,
Yeah.
rest in peace. And then you're just like, as a mom now, it's even worse. It hits me even worse than before. So yeah, but I also wanted to talk about the necessity of expressing, of being able, finding a way to express your grief.
So
a healthy way, that is.
Yeah.
Right? Because this song is such.
Yeah.
They're reminiscing on the good times.
Yeah.
They're talking about how they miss their loved one or loved ones. But what strikes me is after all that sadness and heartbreaking stuff is said, I'll find a way
to get
to
through
get
it.
through.
Yeah.
Meaning, if there's no option, there's no way around it. Like you're gonna have to get through it.
Yeah. There's in all of us, there's an inclination to get back to wholeness. It's just like if you were to throw a little ball like up a hill, when it gets to the top, what does it do? Like it has to come down.
Right.
So as a law, it has to come back down.
Right.
So with grief, what I have learned, and I know this may sound counterintuitive to what a lot of people teach.
Right.
There's not much that you need to do.
Right.
Except allow the ball to come down from up the hill.
Yeah.
Because it's in all of us. It's how we're made. We are made for wholeness. And wholeness is what we are always going back to.
Yeah.
It's our anchor, right? So if you lost someone and you are finding it difficult to and you feel this need to do something about it, you don't have to do much.
Right.
Sit in it. Allow the river. Allow the river to flow.
Yes.
Don't interrupt the process. It will hit you the way it hits you, and that's okay. But there will come a time when that water sails past you and a different experience comes through. And so I know it's difficult to be told you don't have to do anything, just sit, which is sounds almost impossible to do.
Yeah.
But trust me, it is the best way to deal with grief. You don't have to do anything except let it do what it does. Let it hit you the way that if you find yourself in a situation where grief is now affecting your physical health, then by all means,
reach out,
go see a professional. But for most of us, we just have to sit and allow the elastic band to come back to where it started from. Because wholeness is the thing that we. Let me give you an example. If you cut your finger toe now today, if you left it and did absolutely nothing, I can guarantee you, I can bet my last bottom dollar in 3 days, it will be healed without you doing
anything.
That system that's at work in us physically is also at work in us psychologically and emotionally. Emotions are like water flowing down a river. If you do absolutely nothing right now and sit still, that emotion is going to change. Whatever emotions you experience.
And what happens anxiety, when you what happens when you try to manage it?
The same
I can
thing.
tell you that.
The same thing that happens when you try and interfere with nature, like we've been trying to do for, and all we need to do is just sit there and let it do what it does. Yeah, and that's it.
I hear you. I hear you.
So
if you remember anything you've learned today, sit in it.
Sit in it.
Sit in it. Yeah, like seriously. Yeah. So
allow the healing to happen on your behalf. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pain is not as bad as you think it is.
Yeah.
We've just been conditioned that it is.
It's necessary.
But it's necessary to bring back wholeness.
I'm with you on that. Totally. Wow. Thank you so much. Wow. This was so insightful. I'm so glad you picked this song. Like I have a few stories that I would share.
Yeah.
When it comes to loss, for me, I've also lost like a lot of, especially in the last 10 years, I've had two major losses.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Yeah. So I lost my husband,
I know.
2015.
Yeah.
And 5 years after that, I lost my younger brother, the one who came right after me. Yeah. So there came a point where even talking was not even, I couldn't talk about it. But when I was ready, um, some of those teachings were actually quite helpful for me. And to actually acknowledge that I'm okay, it's okay for me to feel this way. I don't have to manage it. So when you said sit in it, I actually remember you saying those things, when you were addressing a group of people that needed that input. So thank you so much. And now we'll just segue into what are you working on right now that you would like to shed light on besides the Radio Academy?
So at the Radio Academy, I'm working on the online version of the course.
Class. Yes.
Yeah. It hasn't gone as well as I expected, but it's mostly my fault because I haven't been. So I got sick like in September. I had COVID.
Oh no.
Yeah, which I thought was a flu. So when I recovered from COVID, I've just been so lazy to do anything.
Oh boy.
So it's almost been like 2 months now.
You've been resting.
I've been resting. So I got so much into the rest mode that I then just so I need to get back into the work mode.
Okay.
What else am I working on? Myself. I think I'm my biggest project right now.
Oh my goodness, that is so. See, that is so real. See why I have this guy on this show. Seriously,
I'm working on myself.
What are you working on? Me.
Yeah,
I like that
because I mean I'm the biggest project there is.
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to be a better human being.
Oh, that's amazing.
All around. I want to be a better boss, a better father, a better son, a better brother, better friend, better colleague, whatever. Because the thing that the world needs right now is more loving human beings.
Oh,
yeah.
preach.
So I'm trying to be that for other people.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm trying to do away with me and do people.
Wow. Did you hear that, y'all? Lovely. We need to aspire to just be better people.
Yeah.
You're right about the world just needing more love.
Yeah.
And thank you for doing your part in doing that.
I'm learning to,
And
getting
also,
there.
if you tune in on ZFM every Sunday from 6 to 9, I don't know what's the time here.
6 to
6
9 p.m. Yeah.
What's the time zone here? I'm
Is
sorry.
it GMT?
Okay, yeah, I think it is.
Isn't it? Isn't it GMT?
Is it
It's
okay?
It's not Central African time, definitely. It's GMT, I think.
Is it? Okay, well, it's 6 to 9 Zimbabwean time. Okay, so
Look it up.
look it up.
Mm.
But it's always a lovely memory lane experience. So
We call it church.
it's church. So if you're into 80s, 90s, especially hip hop, R&B, that's the place to be. Like, so it's Retro Sunday.
Yes.
Yes. So yeah. Thank you so much for joining me today, Tony.
Thank you for having me.
This was amazing. This was really good. And if you like what you heard, lovely, please share with your lovelies and we can make this the place to hang out once every week, and we can talk about songs that you want to talk about, and we can have these conversations going. You can suggest songs to me that you want us to unpack. But I am really, really glad that you were able to join me today, and you have yourself another great week. See you next time.